Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to TDS Live. It's the Florida versus South Florida pregame show hosted by Nathan Bond and Seth Varnadore of the Daily Stampede / Alligator Army. We've got Seth
crossover.
Seth pulling double duty today as the Bulls take on the Gators at 1 o'clock on ABC. Seth, it's not going to be as hot as that 2010 game when I think the game was actually played on the surface of the sun. So good for them. The high is supposed to be around 84, and it's going to be partly cloudy. So that'll be good for a lot of fans in the stands. But I will say, hydrate. Bill Murray has a rule for every drink he has alcoholic. He also drinks water. So make sure you're doing that as well, folks. And Seth, pull up the information. USF is helping fans out as we battle the heat. First 25,000 fans at the gate are going to get cooling towels, and then a 2021 football schedule hand fans distributed to the first 30,000 fans. And don't forget those ever important water fountains. Water fountains in stadiums are important. Remember that. It should probably be in the building plans, just as a general reminder to everyone. Plus 5 cooling zones, the south patio, east and west main concourses, east and west upper concourses, and they'll have medical staff throughout the entire stadium. Folks, USF said a couple hours ago, or I guess yesterday, game sold out. So it's going to be packed house. 65,857 is the capacity at Ray J. We'll see who trickles in here today. But they've sold out. I'm excited for it. Let's kick this off, Seth. Big game. I said in a piece that went up yesterday afternoon, the Q&A that you and I did, that this would be the biggest win in USF history, just because of where the program is at right now. It's 1-9 over the last 10 games. Just got blown out by NC State. So an upset win would be catastrophic for Florida, to say the least, as they're setting their sights on Alabama and the SEC here next week. But Seth, what are your keys to the game for Florida? What are they? I mean, besides just actually showing up and putting 11 guys on the field at a time, what are your keys to the game for Florida to beat this Bulls team?
Well, I think in your questions you asked me, what does USF have to do to win? And it was, win the explosive play battle, win the turnover battle, win third downs, win average starting field position, win 3 of those 4. Florida's just got to basically make sure that they win half of if they win half those, I think they win the game. If they win all of them, I think they win the game really comfortably. But the important ones for them are going to be explosive plays and turnovers. They need to generate explosive plays on offense, not allow them on defense. When you're facing a team that you're a little more talented than, explosive plays can be that difference maker along with turnovers. So if you play clean, if you're Florida, I think you win this game. If you get sloppy and kind of let USF hang around and let them get a little confidence, because I think that's one thing, this team doesn't have a ton of confidence. But if you let them get it, they do have some talented guys that can make plays. So if you're Florida, you want to play clean, put it away early, get your backups in, get ready for Alabama. If you're USF, muddy up the game, take some shots down the field, play penalty free, turnover free, get a couple, and then get yourself into a game at the end of the third quarter. If you got yourself a game going into the fourth, you feel pretty good.
Absolutely, and one of the bigger mismatches across the board in this game today is USF's offensive line against that very talented Gators defensive line. What can the Bulls do, besides, bringing, 2 tight ends in, chipping with the running back? What can they do to maybe stymie some of the athleticism across that defensive line of the Gators?
Yeah, and you can see it here that there is kind of a bit of a mismatch up front, right, on both sides of the ball. These are just kind of the average position ratings, and you can kind of see where they are nationally. Florida is the 7th best defensive line in the country. This is purely talent out of high school recruiting ranking. USF 67th on offense. And then on the other side of the ball, Florida's 15th in offensive line. And that's where they kind of struggled a little bit. But fortunately for Florida, USF's defensive line is their worst position group. So, for USF to have some success against the Florida defensive front, they're going to have to be able to I think use the screen game, use the perimeter run game, use the screen like quick throws as an extension of the run game. Really high percentage throws. Hope that Florida doesn't play a ton of press man. They did a little bit against FAU, but they also kind of they played off at times and let FAU complete a lot of short passes and run the ball a little bit. Didn't stack the box, but I think you're kind of hoping for that. And then if you have Timmy McClain in the game, use some of the option game, use read option, use the speed option stuff, make those aggressive defensive linemen. If you can't block them, read them. That's kind of the option adage. So maybe, if you get McClain in there, you mix some of that stuff in. Even if Fortin plays a ton, mix in McClain with some of the option stuff. That'll slow him down a little bit.
Absolutely. And, the Gators have their own kind of QB competition with Anthony Richardson and Emory Jones. Both of them ran the ball really well. Anthony Richardson did rip off that 73-yard touchdown run last weekend. Also had a really amazing highlight reel play last week. I think they combined for 234 of the 400 yards rushing for the Gators last week. And then Malik Davis, if I'm not mistaken, the local Tampa kid.
Yep.
I think he went to Jesuit, also had a game himself. So that's a three-headed monster that the Bulls defensive line and honestly the front seven are really going to have to compete against today in a prime time, prime slot ABC. This is an important showing. Can you see USF maybe not you can't slow down a freight train like Anthony Richardson, but
No.
Can you stymie them? Is there something that the defense with Glenn Spencer can do today to maybe cause create some havoc? I think the Bulls only had 3 tackles for loss last week against NC State. We've harped on it all preseason, all fall, about creating havoc plays. Can the Bulls do that today against the Gators?
Yeah, so Florida's got they've got a couple new guys on the offensive line. The left tackle, Richard Garage, I think he's also a local Bay Area guy. He played last year, but he didn't play left tackle. He's a left tackle. And then you got a new center this year. I think that's where you want to do some moving up front, like we talked about before. North Carolina State, they did it at times, but then I think they got worn out and just kind of got rolled as the game went on. But move up front, try to confuse this Florida offensive line. They have not been great over the past couple years. They played pretty well against Florida Atlantic, but there was not a ton of just push rolling people off the ball. It wasn't like watching Alabama play where these guys were pushing guys 5 yards down the field off the ball. They were winning their matchups, but it wasn't dominating. So try to confuse them, try to move some guys around, make that center make a lot of different calls, give him a bunch of different looks in the run game, and then maybe break off a couple tackles for loss, maybe get a couple sacks. That's kind of got to be the recipe. I think a lot of movement and trying to confuse that front with some of those, especially with the new guy at center.
Absolutely. Let's pull up the depth charts of both teams. And we'll be able to see the uniform combos as well. Florida going obviously with an America theme. It is the 20th anniversary of September 11th today. And Seth, you're a little older than I am. I remember where I was at that morning, and it's pretty surreal that it's already been 20 years. Those are the kind of the memories, a lot of people, when JFK got shot, when MLK got shot. Yeah. This is that kind of moment for this generation. And it's, just it's still surreal 20 years later.
Yeah, I remember I was in 9th grade. I think we heard about the first plane, I think. You heard about it. And you're just like, oh, there was an accident. Because that initially, I think it was initially thought it was like a commuter plane. Just got off center, and then once the second plane hit, I think I was in English class and we were kind of watching and we saw it. Mm-hmm. That was what sticks out to me as weird as everything got canceled after school. Bush was reading to kids in Sarasota, which is 15 miles from where we were going to school. I was going to school in Palmetto, so it was not super far away. So everything after school got canceled. So we didn't have football practice. It was kind of bizarre. And then I think what was strange is that same week there was a hurricane coming in. So we ended up playing that week on a Wednesday. So I think it was September 11th was a Tuesday.
Right.
I
Yep.
believe. So we didn't practice on the Tuesday, and then we had to play on a Wednesday. And then the rest of the week we had off for a hurricane. So it was a really bizarre week. But yeah, I remember being in an English class and kind of watching on TV, and it just like there was not like that quick information transfer like there is now on Twitter and
Right.
that kind of stuff. So you really had no clue what was going on. And I don't think anybody took credit for what happened until much later in the day. So it was all speculation on what was this? Is this an attack? Is this so? Yeah, it was wild. I'll never forget. Like you said, I'll never forget where I was at. But it was definitely a crazy day. Like the JFK assassination, you'll never forget. If you ask anybody, they can tell you exactly where they were. The crazy thing to me is there are guys going to be playing in this game today that were not born when it happened. It feels like it just happened, but a lot of these a lot of guys are going to be playing today. They weren't alive yet. It's wild to me.
That is insane. It's
Did
just
I hurt
another. I hadn't actually thought about that until you just said it. Like Timmy McClain is 18. He wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Man, that's something else to entirely. And again, our thoughts to the families who were completely affected by this and continue to do so. And I'm sure every single year, there's pomp and circumstance, and rightfully so, to remember those that we lost. But that's always going to be a painful reminder. And the irony of this, when USF played Florida in 2010, it was also September 11th. So it's something just ironic and bizarre as we gear up for the game today. And it's truly interesting times that we were living in and continue to live in. And you know what? Before we even get to that, can we show Dan Mullen's shoes for today?
All right, let's do it. I mean, so the Florida, I believe this is the first time they've ever done this. Is coming out with something kind of American themed for the helmet. So let's see. Let me get this pulled up. So our buddy Dan had to get his shoes ready. He's well known for his shoe game, and he didn't want to disappoint.
Big time sneakerhead.
So this is what he's going to be wearing tomorrow.
That's right.
Yes. And USF Jeff Scott better watch out because he doesn't want to see a roundhouse.
Do you think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys?
No.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
You don't want to see that.
You don't want to see that. You don't want that smoke, Jeffrey.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see, but I'm sure those will be I would imagine those are going to be auctioned off after.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting. I know USF has done some stuff with the flag in it in the past. So
yeah, it was. I would say it's a little interesting they didn't go that route with at least maybe a helmet decal. They've done it, for Veterans Day, and when they play Navy. So it's interesting that they're choosing not to do that today, which is interesting. They're just going with the straight green on green with the gold helmet, typical, iconic U on the helmet. So
and the chrome gold.
Yeah. But let's kind of break it down. The offensive line for the Bulls, much maligned. I think that the left side's going to be all right. The right side is always going to be a work in progress. And, Michael Wiggs is on his, I think, 18th year of eligibility and still trying to find his way. And DeMontre Jacobs, that right side may look different by the second or third quarter today, with Josh Blanchard and maybe Dustin Hall sliding in there at right guard and right tackle. But I mean, there's still talent. Just across the board for the Bulls. Offensively, it's just on the other side of the ball. There's just more talent, which is unfortunate. And for the Bulls, at least defensively, Christian Williams will miss the game. Likely, T.J. Robinson, the Rutgers transfer, will slot in at the starting cornerback position due to Christian's high ankle sprain, and we'll get a clearer picture. Later today about who else will be in and out as we prep for this game.
And with that's not as bad as it sounds initially. I think they were listed as an or on the depth chart. even before the injury. So it's not like you're losing another starter with that Christian Williams injury. One thing I thought was interesting that ended up coming out from last week is that it appeared that I believe it's Jones, right, as the Kansas State transfer that got hurt.
Will Jones, yep.
It appeared like he was set to start, which we didn't really have any indication one way or the other because we didn't get a depth chart last week. But Matthew Hill was talking on one of the latest videos that USF put out, and he was basically like, I had to step up and take that position on. So it seemed like he wasn't going to be the starter. It was going to be Jones before he got injured. So still, a lot of those transfers come in. There's still some shuffling in that back end, and Florida is going to be looking to take advantage of that because they did not throw the ball well in their first game, and that's something they have got to work on today. If they don't if you have another week where you're not throwing the ball well and you're going into Alabama, it's going to be really tough to be confident in either of those quarterbacks against a really good Alabama defense. So I'd imagine they're going to try to get that passing game going a little bit today. They'll feel pretty good with their run game, but I think the passing game is where they're going to try to kind of make their mark today.
I know split zone duos. Richard Johnson loves to coin the phrase "establish it" in the running game for Florida. Do you think they maybe go the inverse here and try to air it out a little bit early, just try to catch a rhythm that they never got against FAU, and then settle in and kind of run the ball and just kind of choke the life out of USF?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think they're gonna they're gonna want to set up, I think, play action stuff with these guys. But you may see that early against FAU. FAU kind of played back and let them take, and was basically like, yeah, take all these short throws and intermediate. We're not going to let you take anything deep. So I think it'll depend a little bit on how USF wants to play. You'd think if you're USF watching last week, you're going to all right, we need to take away the running game. So maybe they come up and challenge Florida a little bit. And then if that's the case, I think Florida will try to take some shots early. But they've got to get that going, because if they don't have it going for Alabama, that's going to be a long night for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it will. And the spread, as you guys can see, is Florida giving the Bulls 29 points, and the over-under is 58. I like Florida to cover and to possibly hit the total by themselves. But, stranger things have happened.
I think it opened at 28.5 or 28, and it's been bet up to 29. I know the total opened at 56.5, and that's been bet up to 58. So you're seeing money coming in on those overs. You look at the money line. We don't have this week. We don't have the percentage of handle. It hasn't been put out yet. But you look at the money line. I think USF was plus 710 last week to beat North Carolina State. So they've got about triple the odds this week to beat Florida on the money line. So do with that what you will.
Right. And I mentioned it at the top, it could be the biggest win in program history, but in the preview I wrote on Friday, it's, the Bulls were never expected to win these first two games. But how they lost to NC State really it put a real bad sour taste into my mouth and to a lot of USF fans. I want to see improvement in something today, right? Yeah. Coaches, I'm sure you've said it thousands of times to your players, and you've heard it from your coaches. The biggest jump in improvement is from week 1 to week 2. Yeah. Let me see something. Yeah. The Bulls were 0 for 11 on their first 11 third downs last week. Let's see some improvement. Is 4 for 11 on your first 11 third downs too much to ask for? It could be. It very well could be. But I want to find some tangible improvement. We joked about the punting game, being the best thing about last week. Let's find something else. Andrew Stokes was fantastic. He boomed the ball really well, but let's find something else today to point in the right direction for the Bulls as we get into the easier part of the schedule.
Yeah, I think, and last week it felt bad, I think mostly just because of that big 0 on the scoreboard. If they would have cashed in one of those opportunities they got, especially that one at the end of the first half there, I think you would feel a lot better about them. But just not being able to cash in and score and being shut out for the third time in a row to open the season against an FBS opponent is obviously not optimal. But let's see. I think scoring would be a nice improvement. But just moving the ball, having an identity, being consistent, seeing guys improve from week to week, those are the kinds of things you're looking for. And then, maybe let's see some of these guys win some one-on-one matchups. You're going to have chances against really highly rated players with a lot of people watching. It was one of these maybe, if I'm Latrell Williams or Xavier Weaver and I got a shot up to go up against Kaiir Elam, who a lot of people think is a top 10 pick next year. Hey man, go up and make a play, make yourself some money, get your name out there. Kind of. So let's see if maybe USF can start winning some of those individual matchups. They may not win all of them, but let's see. Are guys going to go out there and win a couple individual matchups? The first week of the season is tough. Not only do you get that big improvement, but part of that is because you really don't know. And I've said this, I think, every year. You really don't know what you have until that first game is played. Practice is one thing, but once you get in a game and you really see when you're playing somebody else, you can really see, okay, we cannot do that, or okay, we're better at that than I thought, or our defense is not as good. That means our offense isn't as good because they were whipping our offense all week in practice. So you learn a lot the first week. So hopefully you just want to see them take those lessons, apply them, and improve, like you said.
Absolutely. And as we kind of wrap this pregame show up, I think we have a visitor.
That's all you need to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, if that doesn't get you pumped up for the game today, I don't know what will. I think she's also saying chug, 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 chug. So she's ready.
She's ready for the tailgate.
She's ready for the tailgate. She's ready for the tailgate. She's ready for the game. I mean, the only thing left to do is kick the ball off and, beat some Gator tail, I guess.
Yeah. Might be easier said than done, but hey, you can win the tailgate. Just do what you said. Chug, chug, chug.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up and get out of here, Seth, you picked 41-13 this week on the podcast. Are you sticking by that? Do you think that's a fair score for today, or is it going to be worse, better, depending on your viewpoint?
I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be a man of conviction and just stay with it. That's a cover, but let's just stay with it. Why not? I think if Florida gets out to a comfortable lead, they're going to take their foot off the gas, and then USF will have opportunity to make plays with backups in. I think they'll have the opportunity to make plays when the starters are in as well. But if Florida gets that comfortable lead, which it seems like everyone thinks they will, you still got time to play. Still got USF's got a bunch of young guys that are hungry, looking to get playing time. So that back door is open. So kick that back door down and go in, right? Absolutely.
And I picked Florida to win 55-14. I'm sticking with it. Yeah. It's not going to be a fun game on the field, but as Olivia will tell you, just chug the pain away. Enjoy the tailgates today, folks. Again, hydrate, be safe. If you're drinking, get an Uber, have a DD, do something. Don't see Brody doesn't even want you guys drinking. That he is furious that even at the thought of you guys drinking and driving. Be smart, have fun, be nice. I know Gators fans can be a little jordy, but be nice. They are giving us some money here, so enjoy the hospitality. It's the biggest game at Ray J for the Bulls this season. I think it's fair to say, enjoy it. Again, hydrate, wear sunscreen. Let's have some fun, and we'll check in with you guys post game after the Bulls play football. We will check in after the Bulls play football today.
And I'll leave you with a message from Mullen Kwando.
You think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys?